Good evening, everybody. I'm Kath Lloyd from Make the Change, and this is Let's Talk. So I know that I've been publicising that we were going to be talking about making time for fun, but I've taken it upon myself to change the title to Stretch Yourself. One, because I have had to stretch myself today, and I've had to come to a sudden halt. I really didn't. I know I had fun at networking this morning, but then after that, I've been working really hard. And so I wanted to talk about, what is the purpose of stretching yourself and why we should do it. And I talk to my clients about this. I've been working with somebody on my new 10-hour program, and we've been working over WhatsApp in the mornings, and it's been working really, really well. And I've been talking to this client about stretching herself emotionally and mentally, but it's also about physically and stretching your skills, seeing how far you can go. And also, the reason why you should stretch yourself is actually to learn something new about yourself, learn some new skills, and basically this is what personal development is about, isn't it? It's about learning about ourselves, learning our limitations, learning our skills, a sort of capacity, our mental capacity, our physical capacity, and just sort of trying something different, because you don't know at the end of the day, if you always do the same sort of stuff, you don't actually learn anything new, and you don't actually start to find out whether you are good at doing other stuff. So my stretch today, if you saw my live little video earlier this morning, is about sanding some hardwood floors in this new house. One, basically because nobody could do it when we wanted to, or soon enough. Two, because tradesmen booked appointments with me and then couldn't be bothered to turn up. And our time scale has been getting quite short, so I thought, yeah, we'll give it a go. And it's been an interesting exercise, because I am somebody who, now other people who know me really quite well will laugh at this. I do like to follow instructions, and I can follow instructions except when it comes to baking or cooking. And so I followed the instructions, and originally, when I was talking to somebody about sanding, and they were saying, well, good luck, as if it was all going to go really pear-shaped. And then, researching, because sometimes when you're going to scratch yourself, you need to research what you're going to be doing. So yes, we did research it. And I went off to collect my equipment. I was going to start tomorrow, but I thought, give myself a little bit more leeway. And I'll start this afternoon, go and get my equipment. And the men there at HSS, there are other hire firms available, were very helpful, but they didn't have all the equipment. So then I trotted off to Jewson. There are other companies available, and they were very, very helpful to get all my sanding papers and everything. So the first task on limited tools was to actually get the sanding paper around sort of the wheel, the sanding wheel. And the guy at HSS did say you could do with an extra set of hands. So eventually I managed to work out the technique, and I wasn't really quite sure whether the sanding paper had to go a certain way round. So trial and error. I got to it, and sure enough it shredded. So then I started again. And if you are very conscious about your hands and your nails, you get somebody else to do that job for you, because It's not great for, for your manicured nails. So then I turned it the other way around, new piece of paper, sanding paper, turned it the other way around, attached it, started again, and sure enough, within a few minutes it is shredded again. So I get on the phone to HSS, and this is why it's important to have good communication with the people that you hire from. And he assured me that I just had to use brute force and ignorance and tighten the screws up as hard as I could, so that the sanding paper attached really, really well. And, as I've been trained by my dad, or now known as Joan, to read the instructions. So I did. I was very good, and I read the instructions and I followed them explicitly. And my son comes home and goes, "This doesn't look very good." And there I've been working really hard on it. So we did it. We followed the instructions again and went over with the sander again, and it still looked pretty rubbish. So, and then all sorts of other things were happening, and I was having to, in the end, I've spent hours sanding by hand after I've hired all this electrical equipment. I've been sanding by hand. Anyway, so we decided that I was going to throw the instruction manual away and use the sander rather like a vacuum cleaner. And guess what? It is so much better. I wish I'd just tried that earlier. So sometimes what I'm talking about is when we are stretching ourselves, yes, we've got the basic idea. We've got a basic format for how we're doing it, but sometimes we just, if it isn't working, is to try a slightly different method, a slightly different technique, so that it does work for you. And then, of course, when you're stretching yourself, you've got to bear in mind that you're using different muscles, you're using different mindset, and so you are going to be tired. So now, even though I wanted to carry on because I wanted to get to a certain stage, my arms are very tired, plus I was coming to do Let's Talk with you guys, and my back's actually aching because I couldn't use the edging sander as it instructed, because I didn't think I could hold it correctly. So that hasn't done my back much good. But also, we might have to consider other people as well when we're stretching ourselves, because yes, we want to develop our aims, we want to develop our goals and do something different and extend ourselves, but sometimes we have to take into consider other people as well. And in my case, the sanding wasn't good for other people in the house, so that was another reason that I had to stop, get everything vacuumed up as quickly as I could, to keep other people safe, to keep other people happy. And so what I'm saying is, yes, try new things, extend yourself, but also to listen to your body as well, and make sure that you don't overdo it, because that can then make you stop, give up. It might make you emotionally or mentally exhausted. It might make you physically exhausted, and so you've got to be mindful of yourself around those issues as well. But the key is to keep having a go. If it doesn't work the first time, then have a break from it and go back to it again. And keep having a little go, and extending it further. It's just like when I was talking about meditation and I was calling it quiet time, and people who struggle with meditation is, don't try and do a great big block at once. Do a little bit at a time. Obviously, this is different if you've got a bit of a time schedule, if it's perhaps a physical activity, or it's a goal like a marathon, something like that, and you have got to stretch yourself. But it's trying to give yourself enough time to train train so that you are in the right position to be able to meet your goal, meet your aim. Sometimes stuff just gets in the way, and like what I was talking about the other week about interference. Is it a positive interference or is it a negative interference? So when I was doing my sanding today and my son came home and goes, "Oh, it's not looking great, perhaps we should do this, perhaps we should do that," that was a positive interference for me, because he was giving me constructive criticism, and we were working together to try and, find a better way of doing it, like chucking the instruction manual away and doing it, using other ideas to get the end result that we want to do. And this is exactly the same with, negative. So the negative interference was, the sanding process was upsetting, other people physically in the house. And so, it wasn't the other people in the house who were being a negative interference, but it was the product of the activity that I was doing was creating a negative interference. And so I'm going to have to make sure that I do this job when other people are around, or go out and buy more masks, but I think it's going to have to be when other people are out of the house. So again, it's about adjusting, it's being flexible, it's taking other people into consideration, because we can't always do what we want to do at exactly the time that we want to do it. If we lived on an island on our own, that would be no problem at all. But it is about taking other people into consideration, especially if what you are aiming on is going to have an effect on other people. So, for example, training for a marathon takes a lot of time out of your personal life and does sap your downtime. It will mean that, to get the training in, that you will have to sacrifice other things. But is it the sacrifice? Is that sacrifice worth it, or is it going to have a negative impact on other areas of your life? And that's something really important to think about when you are, you've got strong aims, strong goals, and you're wanting to stretch yourself to meet those. So it isn't just about yourself, it is about other people in your lives as well, because it might be great to have $1 million body or $1 million business, but it's about, do you want it at the detriment of other things? Because yes, you could be at the pinnacle of your life, but do you want to be, there with your family, there with your friends, or are you likely to be sitting up there on your pedestal all on your own? And sometimes we see that with big high-flying businessmen, that they haven't taken into consideration other people, and they are sitting there all alone, and they have lost the contact with their friends and the family. So this is, there's a lot to think about when you're working to your aims and your goals, you're stretching yourself to try and be the best that you can be. So I've lost track of the time. Oh yeah, here's my watch. And so think about how you could stretch yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, okay, and work out a little plan of action of how you're going to do it. As I say, this is something that I work with my clients, and it's finding, and just because other people do it a certain way, or spend that much, that amount of time training, and they are, going back to the marathon, for example, they're putting a certain amount of mileage in each day, that might be fine for them and they, and their lifestyle. But you know, you've got to base it on you as a individual, okay? Plus, you've got to consider where you are starting from, okay? Because actually, you know, reaching your goals is a journey, and you might be starting from here, but your best friend or your running mate might be actually starting from here, you know, so their journey is going to be very different to your journey, because if you know, if you're starting from naught and they're starting from 25, you've got a little bit more to do to reach the level that they are at now, and that might take you a few weeks to do that. All right, so you do need to bear that in mind when you're working towards your aims and your goals, and you're stretching yourself and trying to improve yourself in some way. So if you want help with your stretch, and yes, you do need to do your flexibility stretches as well, and I think I need to do that on my back and a bit of relaxation, especially, you know, and go out and get some exercise. So I'm going to go out and walk my dogs as well in the sunshine, the nice evening sunshine. So when you're stretching yourself, physically, mentally, emotionally, still remember to take into consideration your other roles and responsibilities and the things that you like doing as well. So next week we will talk about making time for fun, and in amongst all my sanding I will fit in some time for fun as well. So have a great week, have a great weekend, enjoy the sunshine, and I will be here again next week, unless I'm doing a little bit of a catch up on how my hard floors are going and how my stretch is going. Have a great evening. Bye bye.